Chelsea fans, welcome back to Talking Chelsea. Welcome back to your Chelsea news. Estevao talks about his life as a Chelsea player so far. Axel Disasi wants to fight for his position back in the first team. We have some injury updates regarding Romeo Lavia, Badiashile, Dario Essugo and Liam Delap. Not only that, but Chelsea want to go back into the January transfer market and Chelsea feel very confident they can sign Mike Maignan. Now, of course, I'll be giving my own thoughts and opinions on everything that's been reported, but more importantly, I want to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Before we get into the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. If you are a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content, we are on the road to 10,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. You can also use the hype button, which is a new YouTube feature which helps pushes these videos out to a bigger audience. Kicking things off, Estevao Willian has done an interview with Chelsea and he speaks about life at Chelsea. He says, "I'm already having a lot more opportunities than I expected at Chelsea. That's because of the work I've done in training. Enzo Maresca trusts me a lot and I try to repay that on the pitch." He goes on to say, "It's been incredible. I am loving Chelsea. I'm loving London. I didn't think it could be better. Wow, I think it is the happiest moment of my life." Estevao Willian then speaks on whether he expected fans to be chanting his name so early. He said, "No, I only heard Estevao, the little song. But the affection I see the fans have for me and the coaching staff, everyone at Chelsea is incredible. Since I arrived, I felt at home." He then talks about adjusting to life in England and he says, "I thought it would take a little longer to adapt because of the climate and the language, but thank God it's happening very quickly. I'm already getting used to the language well." He goes on to say the climate there has helped a lot during the 3 weeks I've been there because it's not cold, it's hot. It's getting dark by 9 o'clock at night, so I think it was crucial for me too for my adaptation. It's been really good. I'm loving it. Estevao then continues to talk about the speed, the physicality of the Premier League, playing in England. He says, "Of course it's important to gain muscle strength and mass, but it's not fundamental. I want to improve my speed and style of play, because thanks God I'm having the opportunity. I'm managing to play well the way I am, light and calm, knowing I have a lot to improve too." He goes on to say, "Chelsea has been amazing. I love Chelsea. I love London. I don't think it could be better. We always go with fear, right? Change of country, away from my family. It's been amazing. God is a blessing. Well, I think this is the happiest moment of my life." Now, there's a lot to break down from Estevao right there, and to be honest, I am absolutely loving the fact that he's adapting so well. This is exactly what you want to be hearing from an 18-year-old who's just moved halfway across the planet to play for your football club. He's adapting to the language. The fans have accepted him. We're so encouraging of him. We're excited to see him play. We were waiting for him to land in London to play for Chelsea for like 18 months. We knew he was coming. We were getting prepared for it, and there's no pressure on Estevao right now. He is a youngster who is adapting to a new country. He is adapting to the league. But when he's getting the opportunity, he's seizing the minutes. Unfortunately, Cole Palmer is injured, which means Estevao has had to step in, and he's played fantastically well. That game against West Ham, he was frightening. This is exactly what we want to be seeing from him. He is fearless in terms of getting the ball, always looking to make something happen. He's got that bit of flair as well. And I'm just so happy that for a player of his age and his, qualities and statures, that he's actually adapting very well. Fans have welcomed him. He's away from his family. He's adapting to the language. And he just loves everything about London, about Chelsea, about the fans right now. Obviously, he's talking about the sort of chants that the fans have for him. And obviously, we only have the Estevao chant right now. No doubt we will have full-on songs for Estevao because he is going to be he's going right to the top. We can all see it. We all want that for him. And I'm just so grateful and so happy that he is a Chelsea player because he's been absolutely wonderful so far. And it's so early in his Chelsea career. Now, Estevao has a Ballon d'Or clause in his contract. And to be honest, I feel like we should just give Palmeiras the money now because this guy can go on and win a Ballon d'Or 100%. He has the skill set. He's going right to the top. We can all see how good he is. Now, again, we don't want to be putting too much pressure on Estevao. We don't want to put too much pressure on him whatsoever because he is very young. But I'm just so glad that the Chelsea fans are just excited and accepting and welcoming him in. He's finding it very easy to settle in. The staff, the coach, the manager, everything about it. It's just falling right for him. So it's going to be very interesting to see how his season goes for, adapting and continuing to play more minutes. Like I said, it's unfortunate that Palmer is injured. He's looking to be coming back soon. But Estevao's played on the right-hand side. He's played as a 10, and we just know how frightening he is. So long may that continue for Estevao. I'm so happy that he is happy, if that makes any sense, because for a youngster travelling halfway across the world is going to be very hard, especially going to the Premier League, one of the best leagues in the, if not the best league in the world, and to be performing already. He's just a superstar. When you just look at certain players and you go, they have it. He has it. So I'd like to know your thoughts and opinions down below regarding Estevao. How do you think that he has adapted to Chelsea so far? It's only obviously been a few games, and obviously we had the training before. Well, very short training after the Club World Cup going into this season. I honestly feel like he will have a starting position in this Chelsea squad very soon, if not from the start back from the international break, personally, because he's just so good on that right-hand side as a 10. He's so fluid. He can go to the left. He's just an unbelievable player, so I'm very curious to know your thoughts. How do you see Estevao Williams' season going? Nizar Kinsella has reported that Axel Disasi is expected to train separately from the core first-team group, at least initially, but he is ready if called upon by Chelsea. He goes on to report that Axel Disasi wants to prove himself and get back into Enzo Maresca's thinking, albeit from a separate building for now, as he expected to be in the bomb squad. Disasi has declared himself available if called upon. I find this very, very interesting because I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I'm not the Axel Disasi's biggest fan. I've made this very, very public, and I feel like there's a lot of Chelsea fans who feel the same way. Some people call him Axel Disaster. There's a bit of a running joke. We thought we were going to offload him this summer. It didn't really happen. Even though he had a lot of interest around Axel Disasi this summer, he didn't take any of the moves. Chelsea wasn't pushing any of the moves. So yes, he is one of these bomb squad members. I think there's 3 remaining. There's Sterling, Disasi, and I can't remember the other one off the top of my head right now. I'm very interested to see what Disasi does, because if Enzo Maresca calls him into the first team, then we have to trust that in terms of he's only going to be calling him into the first team if he feels like confident that he can do a job for Chelsea right now. Because it's a very different Chelsea to when Axel Disasi was playing regularly. Yes, we played him right back some games, and we know that he's more of a centre-back. We have the centre-back rotation right now with Levi Colwell's injury and trying to piece things together. Currently, we have Tosin and Chalobah as that partnership, and I feel very confident in that. I think it's a very strong partnership to kind of go forward with. But I like the mindset and the mentality of Axel Disasi here, where he's like, he's turned away all these moves. He didn't want to make any of these moves to Saudi or anywhere like that, any other Premier League clubs. It either fell through or, there was a lack of interest or more interest. He didn't want to take the move, and that's perfectly fine. That is a preference. But what I like about it is he's gone, right, I'm part of this bomb squad. I want to get out of it. So I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to work really hard. And if I'm called upon, I'm taking the opportunity, and I'm going to prove to Maresca that I can be a useful asset to him rather than a liability that we need to offload. I honestly feel like Disasi will be gone in January. I just feel like Chelsea are going to want to do that anyway. I could be wrong. It may be the summer. If there's a window between now and January window that Disasi managed to squeeze himself back into the first team squad, it would just be interesting. Because like I said, I'm not Axel Disasi's biggest fan. I feel like he has good qualities for sure. He's had good games in a Chelsea shirt. I just don't feel he is consistent enough. I feel like he has a lot of mistakes in him, albeit, he's not played in a while for Chelsea. He had a relatively okay spell at Aston Villa. They really liked him, but they didn't pursue it anymore. You'd have a club like Wolves and Bournemouth coming in for him, and he just didn't take those moves. So there is definitely a player in there. It's just whether or not he would fit into a Maresca system. I'd be happy to see him, play and see if it works. If we're cruising a game and there's no real pressure on it, I wouldn't want to be facing Liverpool when we see Axel Disasi as one of the starting centre-backs, personally. But again, if he is working hard behind the scenes and improving, and Maresca then decides, actually, you can do a job for us, and he does it very, very well, fair enough. I'm all for players being reintegrated if they've earned their spot. But as of right now, he's in that bomb squad. He's going to be leaving Chelsea, whether it's January or summer, and I don't see Enzo Maresca picking Disasi and pulling him from that separate building to then be part of the first team, unless it's an absolute crisis. But even so, I don't feel like that will be the route for Axel Disasi. But like I said, I admire the mindset that he's willing to work hard and kind of prove everyone wrong. I absolutely love that. And I feel like that is another part of the mentality currently at Chelsea right now, where it's this elite mentality where they want to do well. They want to win all the trophies. They're all working together. And even though he is training in a separate building, he's sharing that. He was posting loads over the summer about how he's working hard. It's all about timing. He looks in great shape. It looks like he's keeping fit, and he just wants to be playing football. So I think when it gets to a certain point with professional footballers where if they're not playing or they're out of favour, they're just keeping fit all the time. I think of Raheem Sterling's daily routine. It's just go in, train, tick some obligational boxes, and then go home. Yes, he might be enjoying the family time. Fair enough. We all enjoy a bit of family time. Or free time in general to do other things. I get that. But there comes a point where you think, I just want to be playing football. So what have I got to do to go play football? Now, yes, he could have taken a move this summer, and he obviously didn't. So maybe in his mind, he thinks that there is a chance or an opportunity to play for Chelsea this season. And maybe there is, because we're competing across all the competitions again. I don't really know. I would be very, very surprised to see Axel Disasi in a Chelsea starting 11 or even on the Chelsea bench, if I'm being honest. But I really like the mindset. So let me know your thoughts and opinions regarding Axel Disasi in the comments. Do you see a way back for him in this Chelsea team under Enzo Maresca? Or is he just prolonging the inevitable and he's going to be offloaded in January or even next summer? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Moving on to some injury news, we have some good news and some bad news. The first good news is Romeo Lavia and Badiashile are in team training today. This was taken yesterday. So they were in training training yesterday, and they look like they are returning to full fitness. This is incredible news, and we'll talk about this in just a second. Chelsea have reported that Chelsea midfielder Dario Essugo has undergone successful surgery today on his thigh. The 20-year-old sustained a thigh injury whilst on international duty for Portugal's under-21s. And David Ornstein has reported that Chelsea striker Liam Delap is expected to begin training again in November. No surgery is required on the hamstring injury, and his layoff is estimated at approximately 10 weeks from the time of the injury. Now, there's a lot to break down here. You've got Lavia and Badiashile, and that's where I'm going to start, and then I'm going to move on to Essugo and Liam Delap, because it's a mixed bag of injury news right now. For me, Romeo Lavia and Badiashile is fantastic news that they are training, they're on the grass, they look like they're getting back to full fitness, and using this international break to kind of regain that and maybe be available for selection when we come back to the Brentford game onwards, right? Because we're going into the Champions League campaign, etc. Games are going to start ramping up. I think there's like 5 games in 17 days. All of a sudden, things get congested after this international break, and we need as many players as possible. Now, look, you might not be Benoit Badiashile's biggest fan. I definitely wasn't, and he's slowly swaying me a little bit because I feel like he can do a job when he's called upon. We've seen this a few times when his substitute appearances, he's had good fill-ins. The Liverpool game last season at home, he was very, very good, and a select few others, right? I don't think he's a starting centre-back. However, with the rotation of centre-backs and Wesley Fofana being back but also being injury-prone, Badiashile obviously always injured in a transfer window, now back to looking like he's back to full fitness. That's 2 extra bodies we can have in rotation with Trevor and Tosin in the absence of Levi Colwill. Obviously, we know Badiashile is a left-sided centre-back naturally. We do also have Hato, who can play primarily as a left-back but also as a left-sided centre-back too. It just gives Enzo Maresca more options, and it takes a lot of anxieties away from myself when you think about that centre-back position, because we just have more bodies. Now, are any of these players Levi Colwill in terms of how Enzo Maresca utilises him? No. No, he's not. However, more bodies, more opportunities, more sort of opposition and tactics and flexibility that Maresca has to put in that starting sort of centre-back pairing. Now, we know it's going to be Tosin and Chalobah for the foreseeable. I can't even speak. Sorry, it's been a long few days. As you can see, we're not in the office. We're in the new house and I haven't had a chance to get everything sorted, hence the boxes. However, we could see Wesley Fofana sneak into that starting position if he continues that fitness and stays fit and plays more minutes and is more sustained. Because we know that Enzo Maresca likes to rotate minutes and manage people well and try and keep them as fit as possible for as long as possible. But again, it's just flexibility in that centre-back position. So I really like that Benoit Badiashile is coming back to full fitness. When it comes to Romeo Lavia, now we know a stiff breeze will knock him over and it puts him out for 6 or 7 weeks. However, when he is fit and we play a 4-3-3, that free midfield with Lavia, Enzo and Caicedo, we look an unbelievably different team. And it just excites me to see Romeo Lavia back and probably be available for selection. Maybe not for the Brentford game, but maybe games after that. I know we've got Bayern Munich. But seeing him on the bench within the squad, getting some minutes here and there is just fantastic news. Because like I've mentioned before, Romeo Lavia, who is another injury-prone player, yes, he's in and out of fitness, but when he plays, he's fantastic. And a few of you saying in the comments a few days ago that, I keep saying that Lavia is fantastic, but he's not played enough for Chelsea fans to see how good he is. I urge you to go back and watch Romeo Lavia's games and the minutes he's played. He's fantastic. He's unbelievable in that midfield with the likes of Caicedo and Enzo. Those 3 together work so well. Now, obviously, we've learned to play without Lavia because he is so injury prone. But having him back is massive, especially when you talk about Dario Essugo, who was brought in as a rotation for Caicedo, almost a like for like. He's now gone on this international duty for the Portuguese under-21s, picked up a thigh injury and now had surgery on that. That is not good news. For a new signing who's come in and already shown signs of being basically a Caicedo regen already, knowing how young Caicedo is and how good Essugo looks, he's now going to be on the sidelines. So it's almost like 1 in, 1 out, where Lavia could be available if we can keep him fit. Essugo is now recovering from that thigh surgery. So not so good in that sense, but at least we have someone like Lavia who can also play in that type of role that Caicedo has and sort of assist Caicedo as well. We know that typically what we've seen is Lavia is that 6, Caicedo filling in that right back inverting, and then having Enzo. I don't feel like we'll see almost a like for like this season with those 3 in midfield, because we now have other players available, and Reece James is obviously staying fit, touch wood, the longest sort of stint of fitness he's had in a long time. However, what I am saying is Lavia being back is fantastic. Essugo being injured is not great news, but it's not the end of the world. We obviously wish him a speedy recovery. It's been a successful surgery, which is fantastic. But it's just not good news over these international breaks. Now, I'm not a big fan of international football. You guys know that. I've spoken about this a lot. I understand it's a necessity, and a lot of players want to play for their nations. I get it, right? But it's just unnecessary extra games, in my opinion, because club football is just so much of the season and all the competitions that you've got to play, right? And that's just a selfish point of view, really. I understand that some people love international football, and that's more than, that's perfectly fine. It's preference, right? But I always see that players go away, they get injured when something that's 9 times out of 10 preventable, and then they're out for their club for a long period of time. So in that sense, it's really frustrating. So we hope that Essugo can be fit, ready, and available sooner rather than later. But obviously the recovery will, take its own time, and there's no rush to get him back because we do have players that can play in that role as well. And when it comes to Liam Delap, this is really, really good news. Some people may think this is bad news because it's longer than what's longer than what was originally quoted of 4 to 6 weeks because it's a hamstring. However, the absolute golden piece of news out of this is no surgery is required for the hamstring injury, which means it's going to heal naturally. They're going to have their rehab programs. They're going to go through everything like that. 10 weeks from the 10 weeks from the time of the injury. So it's an extra couple of weeks than what we were originally thinking. And obviously we have that position kind of filled with Mark Guiu being recalled. And obviously we can use João Pedro. Hopefully Palmer's coming back in the last video before the weekend. We saw that Cole Palmer posted this carousel saying back soon. So I'm feeling that he's coming back into fitness as well, which will be great. Coming back for the Brentford game. I'm hoping that he gets some minutes for the Brentford game. Because again, we don't have to rush him back with the likes of Estevao being able to fill in or João Pedro filling in that 10 role. But we've kind of got Liam Delap cover in the meantime with Mark Guiu and João Pedro being able to rotate. So it's not the end of the world with Liam Delap, even though we would like Liam Delap back because Liam Delap offers us so much and Mark Guiu is still developing. But 10 weeks isn't the end of the world. We knew he was going to be out for a sustained period of time. We originally thought it was 4 to 6 weeks. No surgery is unbelievable news. It's so, so good. Because if it was an surgery involved, that's when things can become very complicated. We've seen this with Reece James, where he had the hamstring injury, a long recovery process. He then came back, it went again, and then it was again another surgery to fix that one, and then it went on for a long, long time. So the fact that there is no surgery needed is the golden goose out of all of this, the silver lining to the cloud of news that is Liam Delap's injury. So I'm really happy with that. I'm hoping that he recovers quickly. I hope that he can take his time too and not force his way back a bit sooner than he would like. So obviously he wants to be playing for his new club this season. He wants to be doing all these nice things. He wants to be scoring goals for us. We've got Champions League games as well. He's going to be eager. We know what he's like as a person. He's hungry. He wants to do better. And obviously he offers us a lot in terms of what his profile is as a player. So we wish him all the best, obviously, and hopefully a speedy and successful recovery. But it looks like it's going to be 10 weeks rather than the sort of 6 weeks-ish, 6 to 8 weeks that we originally thought it may be. Which isn't the end of the world, but that's the injury news, good and bad. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below regarding Romeo Lavia, Badiashile, Delap, and Essugo's injury news. Let me know your thoughts and opinions because I'm very curious to know your thoughts. S. Johnson Sport has reported that a centre-back should be kept an eye on for January should Chelsea struggle without Colwell. However, it is more likely Chelsea would recall Sarr or Anselmino than spend. The Athletic have reported that Enzo Maresca knew that his say in transfers at Stamford Bridge would be limited and that his main task was to concentrate on coaching the team. They continue to report that Chelsea would be reluctant to block pathways of Mamadou Sarr on loan at Strasbourg and Aaron Anselmino on loan at Borussia Dortmund. It's more likely one of them will be recalled rather than a new addition be added. However, they continue to report there are still funds available for Chelsea in January to do something should they need to. Chelsea provided a clue in that regard by lodging a €40 million bid for Barcelona midfielder Fermin Lopez a few days before the deadline and opted not to pursue it. That sum was not spent elsewhere. Now, I find this very interesting because there's a bit here to break down. Enzo Maresca has obviously, recognised that and knew what he was signing up to in terms of, okay, I'm going to have limited say in this transfers. One thing we know that he has say in is the player profiles. I need these profiles to make the system work that you guys also want the system to work too. Here's a list of profiles that work. Go do your thing. And then obviously you've got the likes of Joe Shields, Egbali and everyone else, sporting directors doing their thing and trying to secure these transfers. And you can tell that there is a bit of a clash sometimes. I don't think Maresca wanted Garnacho, if I'm being perfectly honest. I don't think he's that type of profile. He may fit the profile, but I don't think he was very high up on Maresca's list. Maybe Jamie Gittins was, maybe he wasn't. I don't know. But it seems to be a mixture. You've got someone like Liam Delap. I feel like Enzo Maresca was like, go get me Delap. He's available for £30 million because of the relegation clause. Perfect player. Worked with him before. Go get him. And we went and got him. So I feel like it works sometimes, but maybe not others. And I feel like Enzo Maresca has actually publicly said we need a centre-back because Colwell is injured. And then it was kind of swept over of, well, maybe we don't, maybe we do. And it's a bit of a question mark for a lot of Chelsea fans. I feel like we should be able to get through until Colwill is fit, but that's the end of the season. This is a whole season practically without Colwill. It's going to be very, very challenging. And I said prior to this, as the window was closing, that if Chelsea really are struggling, we're going to go in the January market and we're just going to go buy a centre-back. You can see that's why the January window's there. It's there to fix things that really need fixing. Yes, you might pay a January tax, but at the same time, Chelsea made it very clear that they don't want to block the pathways of Anselmino and Sarr. I really, really like that because they're two fantastic centre-backs that are young, developing and getting raving reviews at the clubs that they're currently playing at. Aaron Anselmino, they won't stop talking about him at Dortmund already, and he's only been there a handful of weeks. Mamadou Sarr we bought from Strasbourg, and they were so happy to get him back on loan because they were like, oh my God, he's amazing. And we've seen glimpses of what these players can do, and they look unbelievable. So I'm happy either way. Chelsea go in the market and go buy a world-class centre-back because they're like, that's what we need. We're laughing. Okay, cool. Amazing. Love that. However, if they do recall Mamadou Sarr or Aaron Anselmino, I'm just as happy because I want to see these players play in the Chelsea team and develop because we've seen glimpses. We've seen what they're doing at their loan clubs at the moment, and they're playing amazing. So either way, happy days. Now, when it comes into us lodging a €40 million bid for Fermin Lopez, I didn't think that was going to happen at any stage. I've said that many times. It made no sense. It came out of nowhere. It looked like a fail-safe for the Xavi Simons deal. And then we opted not to pursue it any further. Barcelona wanted something stupid like 52 plus million for him. Fair enough. They value him highly. He's a youngster. And he plays very well for Barcelona. He's been integral to the games that he has played in terms of goals, assists, and just being part of that system. Very exciting young player. And I think Maresca would love to have a player like him in our team. But again, I feel like that's not a Maresca signing. That is a sporting director's trying to, capitalise on a market opportunity. Fair enough. We know that that's what they're going to do. But it's interesting to know that Chelsea have the funds. We had an incredible selling window this summer. We've generated a lot of money in terms of Club World Cup winnings and the player sales, etc. So, of course, we're in a healthy position to go spend. We obviously opted not to go for Fermin Lopez after we put that initial €40 million bid in. So it's nice to know we've got money in the pot. But at the same time, we don't have to spend it. We don't have to spend it because we have some amazing players are on loan that we can recall, and the club have said that they're happy to do that to not block their pathways. I absolutely love that. So I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions down below regarding the centre-back situation. I know it feels like it's been dragged out, but it's kind of developed a little bit in terms of Chelsea having the option to go in the January market and spend that money that we've not spent in the summer. Would you rather them go do that, or would you put your trust in Mamadou Sarr and Aaron Anselmino and recall them if needed? TBR Football have reported that Chelsea remain interested in AC Milan goalkeeper Mike Maignan, despite failing to agree a deal for him this summer. They're now excited by the opportunity to land him on a free transfer in 2026. Now, TBR Football, sometimes hit and miss. Not to slate them or whatever. Sometimes they're on the money, sometimes they're not, and a lot of these journalists are. I just thought this was very interesting because Mike Maignan was something that kind of went on very early in the window. Chelsea obviously didn't get over the line. We didn't want to pay the money. Fair enough. I get that. This potentially excites me too, because if he is going on a free next year, Chelsea are in a prime position where everything was pretty much agreed personally. We just needed to get it over the line, and we didn't want to pay the extra money to Milan. My concern is we are not going to be the only club going in for Mike Maignan when he is available to sign a pre-contract for the end of the season, which will probably be, it's usually 6 months before, so you're probably looking at around January window time anyway. There will be competition for this guy's signature because he's an incredible goalkeeper. He's a leader. He's a captain. He plays for his national side. He can play out with the ball out from the back to a very high standard. An incredible shot stopper. Great distribution. Everything that Chelsea fans were crying for all summer. My only other concern is Chelsea are backing Sanchez. Now, I don't know whether that's a stopgap until we see Mike Penders develop and he comes straight into Chelsea's first team, or it's a stopgap until we can sign someone like Mike Maignan. But what I just spoke about previously about the centre-backs and the pathways, I feel like Chelsea are going to do that with the goalkeeping situation and not block any pathways for Mike Penders because of his incredible potential and how good he is already at such a young age. So they're my two concerns, is we're going to have competition for his signature and we may be blocking Mike Penders' pathway. However, we push those to the side, look at the positives. What an upgrade he would be on Robert Sanchez. Now, I am someone who's very public about not being Robert Sanchez's biggest fan. Right? It's very public. And a lot of you guys aren't too. However, the one thing I will say is, because I'm always fair, he has gained my trust over time based on his continuous improvements and how solid the defensive unit has been in the last 4 or 5 months. Because it's undeniable. We've been a lot more tighter. We're leaking less goals. We're making more of those last-ditch tackles, and we're preventing more goals being conceded. Well, we just are. We have the Sanchez making some good saves. His distribution has been fantastic, by the way, when it's longer. And we know that. His long distribution is very, very good. And having players like Liam Delap and João Pedro that will take the ball long opens up a different part of Sanchez's game, which he wasn't utilising this time last season because Maresca wanted him to play short all the time. We didn't have the profiles to go long. And like I said, I'm just trying to be fair. Would I take Mike Maignan over Robert Sanchez? Yes, in a heartbeat. Yesterday, do it. Of course. I'm not saying that we just need to stick with Sanchez. But I just wanted to pose the question to you guys. Do you think Chelsea can go in and get Mike Maignan over the line in a pre-contractual agreement in January because he goes for a free at the end of the season and we were so close to signing him and the personal terms are pretty much done this summer? Or do you feel like we're going to have to batter off a lot of competition because he's going on a free transfer? He's a very, very good goalkeeper. Very, very good goalkeeper. So I'd like to know your thoughts on that. And then the second part of that question is, if we sign Mike Maignan, what happens with Mike Penders? Are we blocking his pathway? Or would you sell Sanchez to allow that pathway for Mike Penders as well? Or would you have the 4 goalkeepers of Sanchez, Maignan, Jorgensen, and then Penders when he comes back off of loan? That's the interesting question here, because there's no disputing that Mike Maignan is a fantastic goalkeeper who's at a world-class standard that Chelsea could have got for the sake of £4 million extra that we weren't willing to spend. However, the way this is phrased is Chelsea are excited by the opportunity to land him on a free transfer. And we know from the start of the window that Chelsea are looking at market opportunities. So maybe this was a ploy to see how far we could get, not go over the line, because we knew that in 6 months' time we could do a pre-contractual for when he's on a free transfer. Maybe he still wants that Chelsea move. I don't really know. Don't want to put words in his mouth. But it'd be very interesting to find out over the next 4 or 5 months how this develops. Because, tell you what, if Chelsea sign Mike Maignan, that takes us up to a completely different level of squad, knowing that we're going to have an incredible keeper. And again, this isn't to sort of downplay what Robert Sanchez has done, because I still think he's playing very well this season. We've been very lucky with VAR disallowing some goals, but Sanchez overall, his performance has been pretty decent. So I'm just saying that Mike Maignan would be a huge improvement, and I'm sure that you guys would agree. So let me know your thoughts and opinions down below regarding this report from TBR Football. Do you think there's any concrete evidence in it? Do you think it's just waffle? Do you think Chelsea could secure Mike Maignan, or do you feel like we'll be blocking Mike Penders' pathway? And that's all on that is Chelsea news. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on everything that's been reported down below in the comment section. I love having a conversation with you guys. And if you have watched this video all the way to the end, firstly, you're a real one, and I mean that, you're a real one. But secondly, there'll be a thumbnail appears on the screen. So if you are a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content, make sure you click that thumbnail because you'll enjoy that video too.